that's going to cost people all kinds of money. And where do you cut and what do you do? You know how much money is offshore in this country? And he said all you have to do is put a 10% tax on the money that they're going to bring back into this, and it completely pays for the tax, the zero tax the middle income people in this country would be paying over the next years, and help put America on the fast track back on its feet. That kind of stuff makes total sense. So removing the taxes for incoming business would be great. Another thing that would be fantastic for the county to consider doing, and I would be a great advocate for this, would actually be getting rid of building permit fees altogether. In fact, I would be willing to write a guy a check who showed up at the building department and said, I want to build a new house, or I want to expand my business, because you know what? That's exactly what the county needs. That's exactly what people here need. So we should be rewarding that kind of activity instead of finding them with what happened with Dennis's going down and lobbying for this thing and wanting to add additional fees. Instead of jacking the fees even higher, we should be finding a way to significantly reduce them or even eliminate them to encourage economic development and growth in the county.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes no sense to me how this is kind of off subject, but it has to do with cutting taxes. You hear a lot of people, especially up in the Seattle area, since it's a thing up there, is the $15 minimum wage, and that just is simply going to put people in a higher tax bracket. And not only that, but if you want to make people wealthier right now, just stop taxing them stop taxing poor people altogether. Just let them keep 100% of their income. Don't make them wait, until tax day to beg for their money back from the government that they've been stealing from them all year long. Just let them keep it all year.
You could claim 6.
If you think the minimum wage is a good idea, and there's people out there that believe that nobody should get paid less than $15 an hour. Okay, so if you think minimum wage is a great idea, the Seattle community, when you look at the entire state, the Seattle community has been the booming example of an economy here in the state of Washington. Yet, how long ago was it when they passed that $15 minimum wage in the city? And look at what has happened to unemployment and growth in the business community since then. Do the homework and find out what a negative impact that has had. It's been significant.
Oh, the University of Washington just put out studies saying that it didn't impact.
Proud of voice, Chris.
It didn't.
Impact, forgive me for not wanting to believe the academics on.
Yeah, I don't believe it either. But so, is there anything else you want to ask? I mean, I could ask you questions all night, like your views on law enforcement, local law enforcement. Do you view them? I recognize that there's kind of a war on our police across the nation. They get questioned over a lot of their actions that they do. Do you feel that local law enforcement is equipped enough with what they need to fight the bad guys? I mean, are you a supporter of our local police department?
I'm a big supporter of local police, but let me share something with you that is kind of an unfortunate situation because of various situations that have happened with publicity via social media around some law enforcement agencies. Many of the police officers have been forbidden to speak to you about what the real challenges and issues that they're dealing with. That does not include people who have recently retired from the force. And interestingly enough, since I have announced and even spoke about some of the challenges that I've observed and the solutions to them here in this county, I already have a couple of former police officers come to me and said, Kevin, I would love to sit down with you and share with you what the very real problems that we're faced with in this community. And I said, you mind doing that on camera with me? So I'm not the messenger. I'm not just sharing. And they said, absolutely no problem. Love to do it. So I already have some police officers that are going to come in and visit with me about the challenges that they're dealing with.
To let you know, I don't know if you know this, but Monday night up at Tudor Lake School Cafeteria, 6:30 to 8 p.m., Cowlitz County Sheriff Mark Nelson will be up there to give a state of the county address and law enforcement. Just maybe if you want to show up there, I would love to do like videos with him. There's always these questions that we get on the online forums, like undercover markings on the police cars. I would love to do videos with him, explaining what the actual law is on that. And then always, you always see people complaining on the online forums.
You can see what the law is. It's written right there in the ICW.
Right. But everybody interprets it differently.
Yeah, I they interpret that one so much.
So the other
differently
one that was, a hot topic, for citizens was last year. We were talking about people using cell phones while they're driving, and then people started complaining about police officers driving, while they're on their cell phones, and there's rules behind all this, but I'd love to see videos made with our local sheriff reaching out, explaining what some of the laws are.
he is an elected official.
He is an elected
People
official.
forget that.
But as far as like laws and stuff like that, our kids, they aren't being taught this stuff in school. They aren't taught the laws that they're to be governed under. And so I think outreach programs like, on simple things like this, like a friend of mine, his son got a ticket for his truck having too big of tires or no mud flaps and stuff like that. These guys had no idea what the laws were about, about this stuff. How are we supposed to know all this stuff? So I would love to see more videos come from the police department and stuff like that. So, if that's something that you could do is get their, get them to outreach and come over here to your studio and do some stuff with you. I'd love to see that. So,
and I'd welcome it.
Yeah.
So I'll do my best to reach out to them as well. But if you happen to run into them in the meantime, feel free to share my information with them and ask them to get in touch. I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah.
Here's something along those lines when you're asking me about law enforcement, and I told you I've already had some conversation with retired members from the force, and you're gonna see some video stuff come out with that footage. Likewise, we had just been earlier talking about love overwhelming, and we know this is an issue that hits homelessness in this county. Here's a disadvantage that a lot of political leaders have because they don't think of to go out and actually talk to the people whom their decisions are affecting the most, and which happens to be the homeless people. And
I have not seen the county commissioners at one homeless event unless it was put on by, fancy companies by their friends,
I do happen to know one of them's talking to some homeless people.
Oh, one of them is finally talking to some homeless people?
Yeah, the good one.
The good one. You just can't name them. But anyway, I haven't seen them. I joined this Stone Soup group, and I haven't seen any of these guys at any of the events. I haven't seen them at the Salvation Army during feeding time. I don't see these guys. In fact, I hear rumors of Dennis Weber standing inside the county admin building, looking out into the courtyard, shaking his head at the mess that he's created out there next to the courtyard. I mean, these guys just are out of touch. They are not talking to these people. And you know what? Going through the shelter during the daytime doesn't do shit because, all the people are out of the shelter during the daytime. The crazy stuff happens there at night and on the weekends. So all these people are going and taking the tours during the day, during the week, and during the daytime at Love Overwhelming. You are not seeing the true shelter. These commissioners, these guys are not involved with this at all. They just make these decisions that are made by their friends and all these little organizations and government, offices that they pick up the phone and say, hey, we want you to vote like this. And they go, okay.
So let me ask you this on the homelessness issue. Who do you think a homeless person is most inclined to talk to and most inclined to be honest in terms of, if I pose the question to them, what do you think you need and what help do you think you need? Well, hold on just a second because I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay. I get excited.
If I was to offer some help from a county government perspective, and I'll just use Curtis as an example. If I was to offer some help for you, and I just said, all right, Curtis, here's what I'm going to do for you.
Yeah.
Now you have to go, okay, but that's not really what I need, Kevin. Wouldn't it be smarter for me to say, Chris, I'd like to help you. How can I help you? Right. Okay. And so if you're going to help the homeless people, you have to actually know some of them. You actually have to know some of the people to know whether or not your actions are helping them. Well, interestingly enough, if you think homeless people don't see what happens in social media in our local markets and follow the news, they might be sleeping under a bush out on Lake Sacagawea at night, but they're in tune with what's going on. And very interestingly, when I shared with you that not only have I been approached and visited by retired police officers in this community, but tomorrow morning I have a meeting at this studio with homeless people that I'm equipping with cameras. We're going to go out in the community and we'll bring back interviews with their peers to talk about the very real issues that they're dealing with and what the real solutions would be to help them get out of their situation. That's going to be one of the guys that was in here today. I mean, it was actually kind of an emotional meeting because one of the things that he shared with me, He said, you have absolutely no idea just how bad it
Now,
was.
this is a guy. Now, to be clear, this is a guy that you know that has dealt with homeless people in all over the country, not just Cowlitz County.
Oh, he's traveled well outside this county. It's actually
Right. So
some people who don't know. It's a lot of homeless people actually do travel. They go to
yeah.
other counties and even to other states.
Yeah.
So he's been to a pretty large geographic area.
They have websites online that will show the homeless where, paths to each city where they can get help along the way in the shelters. And Kelso's on that list. So this is why we keep getting more people from out of the area. But you're right, they do travel because you can only, and I say this in the most respectful way, you can only stay in an area and receive so much free aid before somebody says, hey, wait a minute, you're here every week and, whatever.
When I'm not going to tip you off as to what some of the titles of these stories will be, but he just shared with me some of the things. I mean, and he looked me right in the eye. He said, Kevin, are you prepared to hear exactly what happens and the hell my life is every single day? Are you really prepared to hear that? Yeah. And I said, I just want nothing but the unedited truth. And he says, you have no idea how much you have empowered us to help ourselves. I mean, they were just blown away. And I said, you know what? I picked up cameras that I don't mind losing or somebody being stolen or whatever else. And I said, I want your story to be heard by people who are in power currently and not listening to it. And I want your story to be told. So when I win the commissionership and I'm making decisions about things that impact you, I actually know if it's a solution or not based on what you've told me.
That's excellent. That's
so
such a novel idea.
Yeah.
Go in and ask the people that,
if you're going to help somebody, ask them how you can help them.
Well, and that's, the idea of Stone Soup and bringing and doing this potluck every week is that since mid-December, we have gotten to know the homeless, community. And it takes a long time for them to open up to you. But once they do, boy, they're a wealth of information. And they'll tell you straight up without any filter, what they need and what's going on.
Stone Soup is a wonderful potluck organization that, for those that don't know, that
health
feed
department
people.
is trying to shut them down.
A potluck in the county admin courtyard. It's right next to the homeless shelter that they set up. So it's quite handy because they set up the homeless shelter without any way to feed the people. That makes a lot of sense, especially considering the vast amounts of money.
And the county commissioners knows that this shelter of 43 people can't feed its residents.
Yeah.
I mean, just that, I mean,
$2 million.
Who opens up a shelter without any way to feed the people that they're housing? I mean, what are they thinking? I mean, in the community house, at least they have like a professional commercial kitchen. I mean, you go in there, they have a fabulous kitchen. They don't have that in the old funeral parlor up here on the hill. The building isn't equipped.
No, they got a microwave.
Right, they sit between two daycare centers. I mean, these are people that are active drug users. I mean, they carry needles and drugs with them around these daycare centers, and they drop them constantly.
So I was there the other night when me and my buddy went out looking for the individual that the county accidentally let go.
You guys really went out and looked for that guy?
Yeah, we went all over the place around town looking for that. I talked to 2 people that had seen him, and as soon as I showed them the picture, they're like, I haven't seen that guy in a while. Why are you looking for him? I'm like, well, apparently he shot at the police.
And they let him out of jail.
So
this is why
when I went to Love Overwhelming and I showed them the picture, their first, we can't tell you who's here and who's not.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, well, this guy shot at the police, and the
they won't tell you.
Jail accidentally let him go, and so
I'm pretty excited.
They were like, oh, okay. They wanted to pay attention after that. But yeah, I went out and it said in the paper that there wasn't an active search. Well, why isn't there an active search? And when I went to the first 2 stores that are right next to the jail on the north and south side, I went in there. They hadn't even been inside to ask if the guy had been there. The guy just got out of jail.
Well, we better
probably wants a smoke or something like that.
The
or maybe
DOC is already under fire in our area because you're in your protest in this summer, deaths in the jail and stuff like that.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
No, they didn't.
Probably.
No.
Well, what we know,
not popular.
Quit killing people in the jail. Quit letting people die in the jail.
What we know about Curtis is he'll do the legwork. He does it.
Right. By the way, out of curiosity, you guys are both candidates. Are you guys supporting each other on your run? I mean, are you guys endorsing each other? Or is that something you guys are talking
I'm
about?
supporting absolutely everybody who wants to jump in this race and run because I would actually love to see more people do it.
And I'm supporting Kevin 100%.